want to start today's deep dive with a number that honestly completely broke my brain when I saw it in the research stat.
Oh yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
100,000.
Right, which sounds like, I don't know, the population of a small city.
It does, but in our world, that is the number of new music tracks uploaded to streaming services every single day.
Every 24 hours. Just let that sink in.
Right. I mean, if you try to visualize that, it is literally a stadium full of songs trying to squeeze through the door of your Spotify or Apple Music app every single morning.
It's a tidal wave of content.
It really is. And this brings us to the massive paradox we're unpacking today. Because for the last, 20 years, we've told ourselves this very specific story about the internet and music.
Right, the democratization narrative.
Exactly.
The idea was that the suits in the ivory towers at the major record labels were basically done for. The barriers to entry were gone, distribution costs hit absolute zero, and anyone with a cheap laptop and a MIDI controller could find their audience.
Yeah, we thought we were entering this golden age of equality for artists. But looking at the reports you pulled for this deep dive, the ones from Luminate, Chartmetric, and that economic analysis from Rolling Stone, that narrative is, it's effectively a myth at this point.
It's entirely a myth. The data implies we are actually living in a winner-takes-all economy that is significantly more monopolistic than the CD era ever was.
Which is wild to think about.
Stark. Honestly, it's almost medieval in its structure.
Medieval.
Yeah, you have this tiny nobility of superstars at the very top, and then just a massive, massive peasant class of creators. While the barrier to entry has vanished because anyone can upload, the barrier to actual attention has become a fortress.
So today, we are going to dismantle that fortress brick by brick. We need to talk about how the charts are mathematically rigged by something called the album bomb.
A huge factor right now.
We're going to get into the behavioral psychology of why songs are getting shorter and simpler, and we're going to look at the cold, hard cash reality for the 99% of artists just trying to survive this flood.
And we really need to dig into the role of AI too. Because it's not just about generating fake music, it's about engineering human songs to be statistically skipless.
Which is fascinating and also slightly terrifying. But let's start with the history, because to understand this mess, we really have to look back at that early 2000s optimism. You remember the long tail theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
By Chris Anderson?
Vividly. I mean, that was the Bible of the early digital economy.
Totally.
The whole premise was based on shelf space. In the physical world, a record store like Tower Records had limited square footage. It cost real money to manufacture and stock a CD.
Right, so they could only afford to stock the top hits, the head of the sales curve.
Exactly. It just wasn't profitable to stock some niche Norwegian jazz album that might only sell 2 copies a year. It took up physical space that could be used for Britney Spears or NSYNC.
Makes total business sense.
But then the internet comes along and offers infinite shelf space. Hosting an MP3 costs basically nothing. So the theory was that once distribution costs hit zero, listeners would naturally migrate away from the boring top 40 and spread out down the long tail of all these niche genres.
The little guys were supposed to thrive because people could finally find them.
That was the dream. But looking at the recent Luminate year-end, that is absolutely not what happened.
No, we saw the exact opposite.
Right, instead of a long tail, we got a massive heavy head. The market just concentrated. I mean, we usually talk about the Pareto principle in economics, right? The 80-20 rule, where 20% of the causes produce 80% of the effects.
But in music streaming, the ratio is way, way more skewed than that.
Much more. The recent data shows the top 1% of artists are generating 90% of all streams.
Wait, let's pause on that for a second. 1% of artists are getting 90% of the actual listening time.
Correct. Yeah. And if you dig into the remaining 99% of artists, and remember, that is millions of musicians. They are fighting tooth and nail over the last 10% of scraps.
Wow.
The wealth inequality in the music industry is actually more severe than in almost any existing national economy.
That is staggering. So why did the long tail fail then? I mean, if I can pull out my phone and listen to obscure Peruvian flute music or 70s Japanese city pop right now, why am I, and apparently everyone else, just listening to the same 10 people?
It really comes down to the friction of choice. In the 90s, listening to a hit required active effort. You had to drive to the mall, spend $18 on a CD, or call a radio station and wait by your boombox.
There was a literal transaction cost to listening.
Yes, you really had to want it. And because of that active choice, hits cycled out. A song might stay at number 1 for a few weeks, maybe a month if it was a smash. But now we move to passive listening. You aren't choosing specific songs anymore. You're choosing a vibe. You hit play on a playlist like Mood Booster or Today's Top Hits, and you just let it ride while you work or drive.
And that passive consumption just locks the incumbents into place. That totally explains why we see these marathon runs at #1 now. Like when Old Town Road spent 19 weeks at the top, or Morgan Wallen's last night doing 16 weeks.
Exactly. Those durations were statistically improbable in the physical era because eventually everyone who wanted the single had bought it. Sales would naturally drop.
But in streaming?
In streaming, if a song is parked near the top of a massive editorial playlist, it keeps effectively selling every single time someone commutes to work. The playlist reinforces the chart position, and the chart position reinforces the playlist.
It's a feedback loop that effectively freezes the charts.
Exactly.
And that actually brings us to the other mechanic that really seems to be killing variety. The album bomb. I was reading about how this changed the Billboard Hot 100, and it honestly feels like a math loophole.
It is entirely a math loophole. It's a direct result of how the industry decided to equate digital streams to physical sales. Think about the CD era. If you bought Michael Jackson's Thriller, that counted as one entry on the album chart.
Right, it didn't matter if you listened to the title track or skipped straight to Billie Jean, one purchase equaled one unit.
Exactly. But today, we use a metric called track equivalent albums. Every individual stream of a song counts toward the charts.
So when a modern superstar like Taylor Swift or Drake drops a brand new album, their fans don't just listen to the lead single, they stream every single track on the album millions of times within the first 24 hours.
Right. And since the Billboard Hot 100 is literally just a list of the most popular individual songs,
the entire album floods the singles chart.
Exactly. Taylor Swift can debut an album and occupy 20 or more slots on the Hot 100 simultaneously.
It's like a blockade. It physically pushes every other artist off the board.
Blockade is the perfect word for it. In the 90s, even at the absolute height of his power, Michael Jackson couldn't occupy the entire top 20 because he wasn't releasing 20 physical singles on the exact same day.
Right, that would be impossible.
But now, a superstar release sucks all the oxygen out of the room. It freezes the industry for everyone else for weeks at a time.
Which perfectly explains why, despite all this talk of indie power and the democratization of music, the major labels are doing just fine.
Oh, they're doing better than fine.
Yeah.
Sony, Universal, and Warner, the big three, they still control nearly 70% of the total market share.
That's massive.
It is. That's comparable to the dominance of the top streaming platforms themselves. They've essentially consolidated their power by buying up all the independent distribution layers.
So even if you think you're indie,
Right. If you're an indie artist using a digital distributor, chances are incredibly high that one of the big three owns a piece of that pipeline.
so the game is structurally rigged for the giants.
Yes.
But I want to pivot to the actual content itself now. Because the pressure of this 100,000 daily uploads isn't just changing the business model, it's changing the actual art of songwriting.
This is where the technology meets the psychology, and it's fascinating. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, it should be this specific metric, the skip rate.
The skip rate, this is the metric that keeps label executives up at night, right?
It is the judge, jury, and executioner of modern music. On platforms like Spotify, if a listener skips a song before the 30-second mark, it is an absolute disaster for the artist.
First of all, because you don't get paid. The monetization threshold is usually 30 seconds.
Exactly, so 29 seconds of listening is effectively free labor.
Right.
But it gets worse. A skip before 30 seconds sends a massive negative signal to the algorithm. It tells the system, this song is irrelevant, the user hates it. If that happens enough times, the algorithm just buries the track.
It won't get recommended, it won't get playlisted.
You disappear entirely.
So as an artist, you basically have 30 seconds to save your career.
Actually, the behavioral data suggests you have about 5.
5 seconds, you're kidding.
I wish I was. The attrition rate is highest in the very first 5 seconds. We've become incredibly impatient listeners. So labels are now treating the first 5 seconds of a song as the new intro. Wow. And they are actively using AI tools to optimize those opening moments to ensure you do not touch that skip button.
Okay, when you say using AI, to be clear, we aren't talking about AI writing the song for them. We're talking about analysis, right?
Right.
What the sources call predictive audits.
Exactly. There are tech companies out there like Sonoteller AI or Museo that allow labels to run a rough demo through a neural network.
And what is the AI looking for?
These tools analyze the rhythmic density, the key, the chord progression, the vocal timbre, and even the lyrics.
And they compare it to what's currently charting to see if it matches the winning pattern.
That's it. They can predict hit potential with accuracy rates claimed to be between 88 and 97%.
That is insane.
It gets granular. An AI can literally tell a producer, hey, this intro's too slow. The energy doesn't kick in until 15 seconds. You are mathematically going to lose 14% of your listeners right there. Cut it.
That is, well, I mean, it's ruthlessly efficient. But it feels like painting by numbers. It's optimizing for attention rather than actual artistic expression.
It's pure optimization, and it is leading to a very specific, measurable trend in musical composition. The industry calls it sophisticated simplicity.
Yes. I love this concept in the reading. It's based on the Wundt curve, isn't it? That bell curve of complexity.
It's the optimal complexity model. So imagine a bell curve. On the far left, you have something incredibly simple, like a dripping tap or a metronome clicking.
Boring. The brain just tunes it out.
Exactly. But on the far right of the curve, it's pure chaos. White noise or maybe extreme atonal-free jazz. It's overwhelming. The brain rejects it because it can't process the pattern.
So naturally, the brain wants that sweet spot right in the middle. We want to be engaged, but not overwhelmed.
We crave what psychologists call processing fluency. We actually get a literal dopamine hit when we can successfully predict what is coming next in a piece of music.
So if a song is too complex, we can't predict where the melody is going, and we don't get the dopamine reward.
Exactly. Yeah. So how does this manifest in modern pop? Studies show that melodic complexity in popular music has actually dropped by about 30% since 1950.
30%. So the melodies are actually getting simpler, like more nursery rhyme-like.
Yes. However, to keep us from getting totally bored and hitting the skip button, the note density, meaning the sheer number of notes per second, has increased.
Okay, so it's simpler, more predictable melodies, but they're firing at you much faster.
Yes. Fast, busy, but fundamentally predictable. The current winning formula right now is often this. Keep the underlying melody very simple, but add one distinct, weird sound.
Weird sound?
Yeah, like a highly unique vocal chop or a really strange synth texture. Just one element to hook the ear and keep it interesting without overwhelming the brain's ability to predict the pattern. It is entirely about managing the listener's attention budget.
You know, that reminds me of how fast food is engineered.
Well, that's a great comparison.
Yeah, you know the bliss point. That exact ratio of salt, sugar, and fat where you just crave more. It's not about culinary depth or nutrition. It's just about making sure you literally cannot stop eating the fries.
That is a perfect analogy. We're talking about cheeseburger music.
Cheeseburger music.
It is engineered for frictionless consumption, not necessarily for deep artistic nourishment. And the AI tools we talked about are just helping producers hit that salt-sugar ratio much more consistently.
Wow. Okay, so we have the established superstars physically blocking the charts with album bombs, and we have AI helping producers engineer the skipless, high-density cheeseburger songs. Let's talk about the money side of this.
The bottom line.
Right. Because if I'm a new artist, and I somehow manage to make a mathematically perfect song, and I navigate the algorithm without getting skipped, can I actually make a living doing this?
This brings us to the economics of what we call pay to stay. And honestly, the answer is probably not, unless you have a venture capital amount of funding behind you.
Let's put a real price tag on it. What does it actually cost to break a new artist today?
To break a new mainstream act, to actually cut through that daily noise of 100,000 uploads, it costs a major label between $500,000 and $2 million.
$500,000 to $2 million, just to get your foot in the door.
Yes. That money goes entirely to marketing. Influencer campaigns, paying for TikTok trends, aggressive playlist pitching, digital ad buys. It is an incredibly expensive war for attention.
That's wild.
And it doesn't stop once you're famous. Even for an established superstar to just maintain their position at the top, the annual marketing spend is around $2.54 million.
So it's a literal arms race. If you don't have the war chest, you just can't fight on that battlefield.
You can't. And this financial reality has completely hollowed out the middle class of musicians.
Which brings up that fantastic visualization we saw on the Dead is Beautiful Reddit community recently. They broke down the raw math of streaming payouts.
Yes, let's look at those numbers. Let's say you are an independent artist and you get 450,000 streams on a new song.
Which, to be super clear, sounds like a massive success. 500,000 people chose to listen to your art. In the 90s, selling 450,000 physical singles would have earned you a gold record.
It would have been life-changing.
Yeah.
But on streaming platforms today, 450,000 streams nets the artist roughly $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't even pay for the studio time to record the track, let alone rent.
Exactly. So the gap between a hobbyist and a professional has become an absolute canyon. In the physical era, you could sell maybe 50,000 CDs directly to your fan base and make a really solid middle-class living. You could buy a house with that. Today, 50,000 streams buys you a moderately nice dinner for two.
That is depressing. And the problem isn't just that the digital payout is so low. It's that as a new artist, you aren't just competing with the other new artists on the platform. You're competing with ghosts.
Ah, yes. Catalog dominance. This is perhaps the biggest hurdle of all.
Define catalog for us in this context.
Catalog music is officially defined by the industry as any track older than 18 months. Currently, catalog music makes up a staggering 70% of all music consumption in the United States.
7 out of 10 songs played right now are old music.
Yes, we're talking Queen, Fleetwood Mac, Nirvana, Creedence Clearwater Revival. Because of playlisting and the way recommendation algorithms favor high-retention, familiar tracks, these classic hits simply never die. They just loop forever in the background.
So a new artist releasing a debut single today isn't just fighting Taylor Swift for attention. They are literally fighting Bohemian Rhapsody.
They're fighting the entire recorded history of music. And the history of recorded music has a massive unfair advantage: familiarity.
Because we already know we like it.
Exactly. The brain already has perfect processing fluency for the Rumors album by Fleetwood Mac. It knows every note, it gets the dopamine hit effortlessly. It's the ultimate safe bet for the algorithm to play next.
Man, that feels incredibly discouraging. Honestly, if you're an up-and-coming artist listening to this deep dive, you might want to just pack up your instruments. But we did promise to look at some solutions. The research didn't just highlight the problems, it showed how smart artists are actively adapting to this environment.
Absolutely. There are ways to survive, but the strategies have had to completely change. You absolutely cannot play the old game anymore. The days of, record a 10-track album, disappear for 2 years, and come back with a big launch, those days are dead.
Right, because if you disappear for 2 years, the algorithm completely forgets you exist.
You lose your algorithmic heartbeat. So, the most effective shift we're seeing right now is something called the waterfall strategy.
Walk us through the waterfall. I actually see this all the time now on my release radar. I just didn't have a name for it.
Instead of dropping an album all at once, an artist releases a single every 4 to 6 weeks. Consistently. Drip, drip, drip.
What exactly does that do for the algorithm?
It keeps you constantly active in the system's eyes. Every time you release a new track, it triggers the release radar playlist for all your followers. It keeps your monthly listener count stable instead of spiking and crashing.
Got it.
And here is the key part of the waterfall. Every time you release a new single, you bundle it on the streaming platforms with the previous 2 or 3 singles you just released.
Ah, I see. So the new single inherently drags the old ones back up the chart with it.
Exactly. It creates a cumulative wave of streams that builds over months.
Yeah.
We saw Ray, the UK artist, do this brilliantly recently.
Oh yeah, after she went independent, right?
Right. She left a really bad label situation, and instead of just dropping an independent album and praying it worked, she used this steady drip of releases to build momentum and velocity for her song Escape.
Which eventually went massively viral on TikTok and became one.
She built a wave,
Yeah.
rather than trying to make a single splash.
That's incredibly smart. And then there's the economic pivot artists are making. Because if streams essentially pay nothing, the logical conclusion is you have to stop selling streams. You have to sell something else.
This is the shift from volume to value. It's the pivot to superfans. And the absolute legendary case study here is Nipsey Hussle.
I really love this story. It's straight up economics 101, but applied brilliantly to the street level.
Totally. Nipsey realized very early on that passive streams, those tiny fractions of a penny, they just don't pay the rent. But real fans do. So for his mixtape Crenshaw, he did something that seems completely insane to the industry at the time. He put it online for free. Anyone could download it for $0 on DatPiff.
Which, to be fair, was standard practice for mixtapes back then.
True. But he also pressed up exactly 1,000 physical copies of the CD, and he sold them for $100 each.
$100 for a CD that you could legally get for free right next to it.
Yes. He called it the Proud to Pay campaign. The message to his audience was incredibly explicit. He was saying, if you are a real one, if you genuinely value this art and want me to be able to keep making it, prove it. Don't give me a passive penny of your attention. Give me $100 of real support.
And what was the result?
He sold out in less than 24 hours. Jay-Z famously bought 100 copies himself. Nipsey made $100,000 in a single afternoon, directly from just 1,000 people.
That is the math that actually matters today. 1,000 true fans paying directly are worth infinitely more than 1 million passive streamers who skip your song after 30 seconds.
Exactly. It proves that recorded music still has deep value, but artists have to figure out how to ask for it. You have to convert passive listeners into active patrons.
There is one more glimmer of hope we need to cover before we wrap, and it's happening on a macro global scale. We talked a lot about the US monopoly and the big three labels, but the rest of the world is actually fighting back against this monoculture, aren't they? Localization.
Yes. Globalization is a fascinating counter trend. While US stars still take a massive chunk of global music revenue, it's about 38%. Right now we are seeing local, regional scenes becoming absolute fortresses.
We're talking about scenes like Latin trap, K-pop, Afrobeats, the massive Indian domestic market.
Exactly. These local scenes are becoming so economically strong and culturally self-contained that they can entirely block global superstars. In India, for example, local film music and independent Indian pop completely dominate their streaming charts. A new Taylor Swift release simply does not hit #1 in India the way it effortlessly does in the UK or Canada.
So the monoculture, this idea we had that eventually everyone in the entire world would be listening to the exact same pop song at the exact same time, that's fracturing.
It is fracturing. We are seeing a divided world where you can be a massive arena-selling star in a very specific region or cultural niche, even if you aren't a household name globally. It's creating these highly protected pockets where culture can still thrive away from the flattening effect of the global algorithm.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We started today with a paradox. Music is more accessible than ever, 100,000 new songs a day, yet the top of the pyramid is somehow narrower and harder to breach than the days of physical retail.
Right. We are living in a time of extreme abundance, but also extreme consolidation. The tools to create the art are basically free. You can record a hit vocal on your phone in your bedroom. The tools to actually be heard are wild. And the entire system, from the 30-second skip penalty to the album bomb, is mathematically designed to reinforce the winners and filter out all the noise.
But for you, the listener, for the person with the earbuds in right now, why should you care about the backstage economics of this?
Because you are actively training a machine every single day. We tend to think of the streaming algorithm as this independent overlord telling us what to listen to, but it's actually just a mirror. Every single time you skip a song in the first 5 seconds because the intro didn't grab you fast enough, you are voting for shorter intro.
You're voting for cheeseburger music.
Yeah, you are. And every time you let a curated editorial playlist just run passively in the background all afternoon, you are voting for the status quo. You are voting to keep the top 1% exactly where they are.
Your thumb on that skip button is literally a vote. That's a really powerful way to frame it.
It is. If you want a diverse musical landscape, you have to actively engage with it. Save tracks to your own library. Force yourself to listen past that 30-second mark. Go actively seek out the long tail yourself, because the algorithm is never going to take you there automatically. You have to drive the car.
I think that's the ultimate takeaway. We still have the power to break our own filter bubbles, but we have to be willing to tolerate a little bit of complexity to do it.
We do. And I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. We talked about AI optimizing songs for processing fluency, making music that the human brain finds incredibly easy to digest.
Right, engineering that perfect, frictionless auditory experience.
Well, if we continue down this current path, where every hit song is mathematically optimized to be perfectly skipless, are we moving toward a world where music is technically flawless, but completely culturally empty? Are we optimizing actual human soul out of the art form?
Man, that is a heavy question.
And furthermore, if the algorithm only ever shows you what it absolutely knows you will like based on your past data, are you actually discovering new music? Or are you just constantly being fed a perfect reflection of who you used to be?
That is a little haunting, honestly, and a perfect place to leave it. Next time you hit play, think about who or what is actually choosing the track. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Keep listening.